Today on the ProLife Podcast, as Biden is losing control of Washington, he's having to take matters into his own hands. We're a republic. Sorry, man. We need to talk about this. Let's get started. Happy Thursday, ProLife family. I'm glad we didn't make a shirt. Happy Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because we're doing Thursdays now. Welcome to the new season 2.
Woo!
We did.
2023. You made
We did
it.
40 some odd episodes last year. Spotify stats were front. They ranked us pretty highly globally. It was nice.
Yeah, they said we were one of the
Top
small
15.
percentage of podcasts that release weekly content, and I thought everybody did that, so it made me feel special.
Yeah,
It
so
did,
thank
it
you
did.
for being part of this. You know, we're in the top 15%, I believe Spotify said. So
Yep.
let's keep it going.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So for this new year, we're going to try Thursday mornings, guys. So hope this is working in your schedule better. Lots to talk about. First, friends around the table.
I'm Kim Schwartz, the Media and Communication Director.
I'm Veronica Arnold Smither. I work in education, and I talk too much.
Brent Klingerman, IT Director. I also probably talk too much.
That's why we do this.
That's why we got put in this room.
If you
That's
want to
fine.
hear us talk about certain things, email us. It'd be fun to have new topic ideas. Always news, of course, but sometimes there's particular apologetics topics that people want to hear about. So
That's
email
true.
us.
We are trying to guess what you want to hear about every week. There's a lot that happens. We've got to filter it down to like, okay, I think these are the most important things and what people may want to know about, what they want to be more informed on. If there's something that strikes your attention, you'd like more clarification or more detail on, feel free. ProLife at TexasRightToLife.com.
Yeah.
But for this week,
Man, it's a big
you
week.
know, it has been an interesting week. I took a nice long vacation over the holidays, but the Biden administration didn't stop being weird.
Nope, they didn't. And they have, I think that it is a sign that Biden is losing his grip on the federal government. And especially because, we just had a new House Speaker elected and we can finally say goodbye to Nancy Pelosi.
Yay!
It's
Don't
been
let the
a
door hit you.
long time coming. We were just talking about this. Like, we need to really pray for her conversion. Imagine how powerful
Yeah, I
it
was
would
joking.
be.
Maybe she'll become Catholic.
Yeah, you can dream.
She says she is, but she doesn't know what that means.
I mean, we want all to find our Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wills that all would be saved.
Yes. Not all will to be saved.
Nancy.
Not all people.
God's
Take
gonna have to
that.
work on me a little more. I don't want to live next door to her in heaven.
Ay, ay, ay.
I'm not there. I'm
Just
not.
imagine
I'm
how
sorry.
powerful it would
It
be
would-
to
it
have
would.
her
It
like,
would. I'm
180
just-
degrees.
Trying to, now that we've started this conversation, wrap my brain around that. I'm just like, oh.
Just imagine. So
But this would be post a conversion. God's
Yes.
perfect will happening here.
Yes.
There's yeah.
See, I'm
God
like
can do a lot.
obnoxiously optimistic all the time. I'm like, it's possible, and I'm trying to like rally the troops. Like, she could totally convert, which she could. Like, all
we
things are
gotta
possible.
pray.
But
and good for you
I don't
because
know
I'm
if
I'm
she
not on that
will.
side. I'm very pessimistic. I'm the IT guy. I plan for things to go
Fair
wrong.
enough.
Exactly.
So
and I'm
that's
like,
where my
everything's
brain
gonna be
operates.
great all the time. Nancy's gonna convert. Who knows? One day,
That's
maybe.
confidence in the Lord right there.
Maybe now that
I
she's
admire
retired, she'll chill out.
I also hope for her conversion. I pray for her conversion.
that. Good. But so now that the Democrats
Kinda
don't
back on track
have
here.
a solid grip on the entire federal government, a year ago at this time, they had the House, they had the Senate, they had the presidency. They could do pretty much anything they wanted.
This is true.
That's why they passed a bill, I want to say at least 3 times, to ban states from passing pro-life laws. They wanted to enshrine Roe v. Wade into federal law, and that would basically just wipe out all pro-life laws in states everywhere. And so now they can't do that because Republicans have control of the House. And so we're going to see, whereas before the pro-abortion legislation could just sail right through, it would hit the roadblock in the Senate because they can't overcome the filibuster. But Joe
Right.
Biden was like, why don't we just get rid of the filibuster?
Mm.
Very
What
obvious.
could go wrong, Joe?
Well, my favorite thing, we talked about this in the episode where when Roe v. Wade was overturned, that whenever you get rid of institutions, whenever you gut these norms, those can come back and bite you. And that's actually how we ended up overturning Roe. Because in 2013-ish, whenever Obama wanted to ram through his judicial nominees, but then you had like the judicial filibuster where Republicans kept blocking Obama's judicial nominees, then Democrats in the Senate were like, let's just get rid of the judicial filibuster. It'll be fine. And then fast forward, 2016, Trump becomes president, and he is able to put through 3 nominees to the Supreme Court because the judicial filibuster had been wiped out in the Senate.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Obama. You played yourself.
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks,
No.
Obama.
Actually, thanks, Obama. I've never said that non-sarcastically.
I always love saying thanks, Obama, at any time I can. Drop your ice cream. Thanks, Obama.
I love
whenever they set a new precedent like that, I know people whine on either side. I'm like, it's only fair. If you're going to change the rules, everybody gets to play by the new rules.
Exactly.
And if this is a new rule, then stop complaining.
Yeah. And so the good thing on the pro-life side is that they no longer have the House. And so I don't foresee them trying to push through that legislation through anymore because they don't have the votes on the Senate. They don't have the votes in the House. So they're pretty much stuck. Which means, though, that Biden is like, what are laws? We don't need those. We don't need rules.
The executive branch is trying to rule.
Well, they've been doing that for like over a decade now. I mean, the executive orders are the new way to write anything, and it's like, at what point? Okay, I'm going to get really fired up. At what point are the American people going to say, "Stop it! This is not allowed. This was not the way our democratic republic was supposed to operate." And I'm literally getting goosebumps about how people just stand by silently, and they're like, "Oh well, that's just the government." I'm like, "No, when are we going to make it stop?
We stopped teaching that it's a democratic republic.
That's true. Yeah,
that makes me furious. That makes me furious.
If you don't understand the difference between a democracy and a republic, please do a little homework. It's very important. They're very, very important distinctions.
Yeah. So Joe Biden, though, is one of those people who needs to Google what a democratic republic is. So someone, whoever...
And he's not the first president to be doing this. I mean, there were a few previous Republican presidents who had kind of started toying with these executive orders. Obama made it really big, and Trump did it too, and now Biden. So like, it's not like Republicans are all good and Democrats are all bad. Absolutely not. I will never sit in that camp. Right. It's like, important things to do. And I'm like, no, this is not the way it's supposed to operate. Congress was supposed to vote on this and represent people and stop having one man, one person write these orders.
So anyways, in this recent...
Yeah. It's not just the executive orders, though. It's also through the like bureaucracies, like all the red tape. You've got all these 3-letter agencies everywhere that are making new rules constantly for how our way of life is supposed to go and what you are not allowed to do, what you are allowed to do. And they just like wave these around as if they're law, but the bureaucracies have no authority to legislate. That is Congress's job. Now, one of the new ways that we see this, we've had 2 big milestones last week in how this came to be. So the first was the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, said that pharmacies are now allowed to dispense abortion pills directly to customers. So before, if a woman wanted an abortion, then she would have to go to a doctor, have an appointment, and that you would have different regulations in different states too, where she goes, and then the abortionist is the one who physically has to give her the pills. It's a 2-step process in a chemical abortion, right? You first take the first pill that kills the baby, and then the second pill expels the baby. And this is very deadly. It's a very terrible way for a preborn child to die. But also there's a lot of complications that can arise for the mother, especially if without the consultation with the physician, like, you don't know if she says like, oh, well, I'm 7 weeks pregnant, but she's really like 10.
Right.
That can cause a lot of problems for her too. Yep. And so there's very good reasons why the protocol for decades has been, this needs to be dispensed in person. This should not be via telemedicine. This should not be just like, everybody just go get your abortion drugs and you're good. Like, there's a good reason why that hasn't been the case for a long time, but Joe Biden does not care. Joe Biden wants the result of more abortions in more states. And so the FDA authorized pharmacies to dispense these drugs now without a physician being the one to hand them out. So you do need a prescription. A woman, this is basically like telemedicine now. So a woman who says, I want an abortion, can go and get a prescription from a doctor. It doesn't need to be an in-person visit. And then go to CVS or Walgreens, and then they'll hand them out. And so they're working. CVS and Walgreens is very disappointing on their part.
Yeah.
Even though they're authorized, they could have said no. Right?
Really?
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Well, and the thing here in Texas, though, you have to get this from a doctor. We have laws in place that stop this nonsense.
Yeah.
Other states are going to need to do the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is an overreach of a federal alphabet soup organization that thinks they can make up a law that it's not law.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's so dangerous. I mean, so basically, is it safe to say now that it's an over-the-counter drug?
Well, no, because you still need a prescription, but like this much closer to being over the counter.
Right.
But there is
telemedicine is a better way. So it's telemedicine, abortion pills.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there is some good news with that, like what Brent was hinting at a second ago of how Texas is actually not affected by this. And I think we can go into detail more on that. But first, we need to take a break.
Book your tickets today for Boots on the Ground Pro-Life Convention. Join us in January 28th and 29th in Austin, Texas for an amazing lineup of pro-life speakers. We have Frank Pavone of Priests for Life, Destiny of New Wave Feminists, expert apologist Trent Horn, and so many more. We will gather with hundreds of people to march to the Texas Capitol to celebrate the end of Roe v. Wade and to learn our legislative agenda for keeping Texas pro-life forever. BootsOnTheGroundTX.com. See you in January.
Without warning, you or your loved one could end up in the emergency room where every second counts and your medical wishes matter more than ever. However, if your loved one doesn't have the right medical documents on hand, they may not be able to make decisions for you in a crisis. My Life Angels solves all of this by walking you through step by step in creating these important medical documents and storing them online securely for you and your family to access at any time. The service is only $7 a month, but use the link in our description for 20% off your initial subscription period. Don't let strangers make life and death decisions for you. Get the My Life Angels app today.
Welcome back, friends. Before we get into the other thing we want to talk about that relates to telemedicine, Boots on the Ground, hope to see you there. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Great.
Yes, I'm really excited.
This list of speakers is intense.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really good, heavily informative couple of days.
And I think one of the biggest benefits too is like, you always hear these tough abortion arguments. Like there's always one that kind of sticks in your head and you're like, I don't know quite how to answer that. Bring that question to Boots on the Ground and ask that question directly to the experts. And then you have the answers. You know how to confront those questions in the future. So bring your toughest pro-choice questions and ask them to our experts.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
I have used the information from those conferences so many times. Mm-hmm. So hope to see you there.
For real.
Anyways, we were talking about Biden administration, overreach on what you can and can't do with pharmacies. Yeah. Texas needs prescriptions. Pharmacies can't just go, here you go.
Right. Well, everywhere in the FDA, in the new FDA regulations said that you still have to have a prescription, but you don't have to get them physically from a physician, which is a departure from the norm.
But Texas said you can't do this at all.
Yeah,
right?
Texas says you can't do this at all.
So we passed our own law a year or two ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. During the last legislative session saying, and we predicted this would happen. And said, no, you cannot, in Texas, you cannot do telemed abortion pills. I wonder how many other states have done that. Because I know a lot of states have been predicting this, but they're not. I know Texas is very vigilant about predicting what kinds of things the abortion industry is going to try to ram through.
Yeah.
Dr. Seago and Rebecca have been very ahead of the curve on kind of knowing where this is going. So thanks to their leadership, Texas is in a much better place for these shenanigans.
Yeah, yeah. And so not every state has a law like ours. In 2021, we passed a law that said that pharmacies cannot dispense abortion pills. Like, we really made sure that the protocols for that were very by the book, and how they have been for decades. And because we knew the Biden administration was going to start messing with these regulations. They started doing it with COVID, actually, and saying like, oh, well, pandemic emergency, let's have more abortions. So make sure you can get those abortion pills.
All problems.
Am I wrong? I feel like maybe I'm just living in weird bizarro world, or, CERN blew up an alternate dimension and this didn't happen. It's the rabbit hole. It's just, never mind.
Keep going.
Wasn't Schumer in front of everybody saying that our birth rate is too low?
He did say this.
Before Thanksgiving, I think.
He
Somewhere
did say
around
this.
there. Acting like we need more people in our country.
Right.
While simultaneously saying we need to kill more people.
I think people were shocked, and then they kind of buried that story because they were like, what is he talking about? This is a weird turn of opinion for him. And a lot of other conservative outlets, especially people who really are interested in economics, have been saying that for a long time.
Yeah. Right.
And when you look at the examples of other countries that have had extremely low birth rates, and they are really suffering economically because they're upside down.
Mm-hmm.
It's
and so people have been trying to sound that alarm bell, but it sounds honestly like a conspiracy theory for the American people. They're like, what? That's so weird,
Yeah.
And we're a huge country and we have lots of people. But I'm like, well, birth rate is important to consider. And now when Schumer said it, everybody was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that story went away real quick.
It did.
Yeah.
So, but maybe more people listen. I mean, Elon Musk has been talking about it for a long time, he has quite a platform. He literally owns a platform now.
That's true.
So I don't know. Maybe people will listen a little more.
Hopefully.
I don't know. So Texas is in a better position than other states. But apparently now we're not 100% immune because the Postal Service has been ordered to play games with this too now.
Yeah.
Yikes.
The Postal Service is not known for its efficiency or its morals. There's a lot with the post office
there are good people working at the Postal Service.
Yes.
But when I think of I have friends who work for the Postal Service.
Yep.
When I think of efficient systems,
not so great.
The Postal Service is not making the top 10.
But so you were saying earlier that like at the top, whenever they're supposed to be monitoring like illegal activity through the mail, they are very on it. They make sure that like our mail is clean. But when it comes to abortion, they're like, we're just going to pretend I didn't see that.
So that seems to be the new trick now.
And they've been told that they're allowed to do that.
Like as far as the we can't mail illegal things, which has been the stance of the Postal Service, as it should be for a very long time. And I was like, well, but on this thing, just look the other way. You don't know how they're going to use that.
Right.
It's like, wait, what now?
Yeah. So
I can't imagine this turning into another terrible series of when did drug dealers get to just mail things and go, well, I didn't know how they were going to use it.
Right.
So what?
That's what the post office is saying now, that last week around the same time that the FDA changed their protocol, the post office said, we see all of these organizations that are bragging that we are mailing abortion drugs to places that it is illegal.
Right.
And so you would think with any other protocol that the post office would be like, wait a second, you're not supposed to put illegal things in the mail.
Look into that a little bit.
And so, but they can't do that. They can't say that anything that would crack down on abortion, that's like, we can't actually uphold that rule of law because we want people to have more abortions. Like that's what the Biden administration has to do. So they're bending the rules for their agenda once more and saying that the post office put out a new ruling essentially last week saying that, yes, we know that there are organizations that are bragging about mailing abortion drugs to places where it is illegal. And you would think that that would fall under the Comstock Act, right? That's what most people would think. But what Brent was saying a second ago, if we don't know that they're going to take it, then it wouldn't be illegal because like it's consuming the drugs and illegally killing a preborn baby. That's the part that's against the law. So if we just pretend that they don't take the drugs.
And they're saying this with a straight face.
Yep.
Yeah. Basically, they're saying, we don't know their intent of the drug. And I'm like, well, but this is literally the purpose of the drug.
And that's what the
and there are not other
bragging
purposes for these particular drugs. There are some drugs that are multi-use, but not mifepristone and misoprostol.
Yeah.
This is the sole purpose right now, FDA approved, and this is obnoxious to say we don't know the intent of the use of this drug, so it's okay to mail it. What?
Yeah.
What?
And so, like, yes, they use mifepristone and misoprostol for, like, miscarriage treatment and stuff like that if the baby is already dead.
But with the aid of a doctor.
Yes, that's not something that's like, I'm having a miscarriage. Let me go to the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on how far along you are, too, those drugs are not going to help with miscarriage.
Yeah.
And they don't help. We've talked at length how they do not help with ectopic pregnancy.
Yeah.
They do not successfully expel an ectopic pregnancy. So it's very dangerous to say, like, oh, you know, a woman can just order these online to take care of. First of all, she wouldn't even know she's having an ectopic pregnancy unless she goes and sees a doctor first and has an ultrasound. So that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
The other thing, I want to talk a little bit about the safety element of women taking these drugs without the help of a doctor, because some people might be like, well, what if it is safe and you guys are just trying to make it harder for women?
Yes.
But just let's talk about the safety element. It's not safe. And if it were safe, I would concede your point then too. I would say, yes, it's safe for the mother if that were true. Unfortunately, it's not. And here's some reasons why. Ectopic pregnancy is a huge factor. Just mention that one. Another reason is when women first discover that they're pregnant, they get blood work done to determine Rh factors, because sometimes there are blood disorders that can happen between mother and child and make it very complicated. So misoprostol and mifepristone are not going to account for any of that. And like, what if she stays pregnant and it doesn't work? She could get extremely sick simply because she did not go see a doctor and get the regular blood work done that every woman does when she goes and sees a doctor. Like telemedicine, you can't do blood work very easily via telemedicine. And they're not even trying to encourage that. So it is not safe. Also, if you don't go in for an exam and you don't know how far along you are, and let's say you think you know how far along you are, but you're incorrect, also the drugs are not safe because you could stay pregnant with a now stillborn child, with a now dead child, and that can lead to infection and sepsis and all kinds of terrible things. Like, this is not safe.
Yeah.
If it were, I would concede your point, but it's not safe.
Yeah.
The end.
I appreciate that for sure. And so the thing is, a lot of pro-life people are pointing the finger at CVS and Walgreens, both of which have publicly said that they are going to like apply for the permission basically to dispense the abortion pills directly to patients without actually having to see a doctor. So again, like I said, they can say no to this. So they don't have to.
They're trying to like get into like the Ready Clinic kind of stuff, like where you schedule the hour and you go in and go, yeah, I'm pregnant and I need to make this go away.
I don't know what a Ready Clinic does.
So like the Minute Clinic, like where you go get your like flu shot at HEB or CVS or whatever, or you go in like, hey, I think I got a cold.
You want to get a COVID test,
and they'll just prescribe you a thing real fast.
Okay, I don't know if you haven't
used those. Okay. I have used those quite a bit, both personally with my kids. It's like it's easy to just like, oh, you schedule online, you show up, you've got your half hour thing, and it's especially great when you're traveling. Just go in and see a doctor, get your whatever test, and then they go, okay, here's the drugs for that, and then it'll be ready here in an hour.
I don't know if CVS and Walgreens are the ones, like if they've said that we're going to write the prescriptions. CVS and Walgreens have said that like if we get a prescription, we're going to hand this out, and they don't have to participate in that. They can say no. And so I encourage every pro-life person to contact Walgreens and CVS and say, you should not be taking part in this.
Absolutely.
They don't have to, even though the FDA has authorized this, they don't have to participate in it. And so that's what we're really encouraging people to do, that these companies will do the right thing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, expecting companies to do the right thing these days is... We can't expect them to do it. We're going to have to encourage them to do it. So,
yes.
Yeah.
For real.
Make your complaints about this known.
Mm-hmm.
Just real quick before we wrap up on the back on the Speaker of the House thing. If you didn't see bad lip readings,
Oh my gosh, they were fantastic.
Media clips from Speaker of the House, and it's, I saw one of the posts was like, I'm an expert, I know that this is what they are saying.
It's true.
They're so ridiculous. Oh yeah, rocks are my friends. I think rocks are my friends
This is gonna be a new quote.
Is my favorite AOC bad lip reading quote.
Some of my favorite things on the internet are bad lip reading videos.
Oh my gosh.
So if you want to make your day better, go check those out.
They're great fun. It has
They're
nothing to do with
hilarious.
the pro-life movement, but sometimes you just need to step away for a minute.
Yeah,
It's
but if you just
so
need
funny.
a little humor to go with the politics,
It's pretty good.
they're pretty good. They're pretty dang good.
Did they dub over any of the physical fighting?
A little bit. There was
I
one.
want to see those.
Yeah.
I wanna see
Yeah,
those. I'm gonna go look it up.
They're good. They're good.
Because I heard it got a little rowdy in there
Yeah.
for the votes over Kevin McCarthy.
Mm-hmm. So politics is weird, and our only hope is Jesus.
Amen.
So there you go. Summary for 2023. Here's how we're gonna start the year. Politics is weird, and our only hope is Jesus.
True.
Okay, friends. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you're enjoying Thursday's episode. We will see you next Thursday. Like, share, heart, send it to your friends. You were obviously doing that. Spotify told me you were. Thank you so much. We will see you next Thursday.